Yeah, I'll stop sharing.
Hi, Susan.
Shalom.
Okay, 1 second. This is also okay, right?
It's okay.
Yeah,
All right. If anyone else wants to try and share his or her presentation to make sure that you are managing, feel free to do it now.
Yes, I will do that if it's. Hi,
Yes.
hi everyone.
I got it.
Hi.
Hi. Fine, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
And Rivki, you're going to share mine for me?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Calling Rachel.
Maya.
Hey.
Hi. Rivki, is Yoel also here? Because I see one person who is
Not yet.
not yet. There's a person here with an iPhone, ALB.
It's Arba, it's me. Hi, I am on iPhone.
Hello. So we're waiting for Yoel and for Rachel, right?
And switching camera off.
אנחנו פה, נכנסת? טוב, ביי.
יכולה להציג את השקף הזה של התוכנית או משהו שיהיה עכשיו, כי זה הרבה דקות עוד עד שנתחיל. יש לך את היפה הזה, מה שהכנת.
רגע.
יש לך את העוד יותר יפה, אבל זה גם מצוין, מצוין. יש לך קשר עם השגריר?
כן.
חסר לנו השגריר ורחל.
יש עוד קצת זמן.
כן, אני יודעת. היי רחל, את רוצה לנסות ולהציג שנייה את המצגת שלך? לראות שהכל עובד לך?
Hi, Ambassador, are you coming into the Zoom? Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure.
רחל, את רוצה להציג שנייה את המצגת שלך? רחל?
היי.
את רוצה להציג רגע את המצגת שלך?
רגע.
מעולה.
אוקיי. טוב, כולם בסדר. היי, שפנד, היי, how are you? क्या कुछ
Super.
This is Ambassador Spend, Sadiku.
היי.
דוצה.
God says here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, everyone.
היי, דוצה.
Dobro večer, ambasadore, kako ste?
אמבסדור, ne te slušame.
את רוצה לצלצל ליואל?
כן. מי ביקש ממני? אני אעשה את זה?
אחת
Now I think now
מהרחלות,
it's okay.
אחת מזאת שקוראים לה רחל.
מה?
אחת מהרחלות יכולה לצלצל אליו.
רחל, את עושה את זה או שאת רוצה שאני אעשה?
רגע, אני מתקשרת אליו.
Doce, dobro večer, me slušate svega?
Da, slušame. Kako ste?
Dobro, благодарам, вие како сте?
Odlično, odlično.
Како е во Битола?
Kako i sekogаш, malku sneg, malku ladno, ama sepak. Dobro.
Супер. Колку ми фали тој студ од Македонија.
יואל, אתה מצטרף? כן. אוקיי, בסדר.
רחל חדאיו,
כן. טוב, לא, זורן בסקי.
זה בסדר רחל?
בסדר. טוב, אנחנו פה, אני פה כבר בזום, וביקשו ממני להתקשר אליך.
המצגת של רחל עדיה רבקי היא אצלך?
כן, העליתי אותה עכשיו.
אז יש שם קריטריה במקום קריטריאס.
אני לא רוצה לגעת כרגע, כי אני
אוקיי, אין שום בעיה.
רחלי, מה את אומרת? מה יש?
איזשהו טייפו, הכל בסדר, אנחנו
אני אטפל
דרך
בזה.
כל מה שיש. Hello, Mr. Ambassador. I'm Racheli. I'm very pleased meeting you.
Hi, Raheli, it's a pleasure.
Yeah. Your colleague, Marian Schuurman, the Dutch ambassador to Israel, will probably also join this evening.
Great.
Yeah. Someone has a lot of noise in the background.
Hey, little brother.
Whoever wants to unmute themselves needs to do it.
Hi, Professor Yitzhak Kerem, how are you?
He's muted.
I know, but he might unmute himself.
I thank you for invitation to me from Santiago. I am from Chile.
Hi, Joel. Nice having you from Chile.
And thank you again. It's a pleasure to hear you.
Thank you so much.
My father come to Chile in 1929 from Monastir, and they come to live in the south of the country, in Temuco city. Was found the first Sephardic community, the majority from the Jewish from Bitola, from Monastir.
Interesting. And did you visit Bitola? Did you have the opportunity to go on a heritage tour?
No, never.
Never?
I write 2 books about the Jews in Temuco, and a photographic book from the Jewish Bitola.
Yeah.
But I never. I know. The first synagogue was built in Santiago, in Chile, was in Temuco, from the monastery people who come to south of the country.
Here, Yoel is here.
Great. Hi, Joel. Joel, can you hear us?
It's Kerem? No,
No, 1 second. We're talking to Joel Dr. Yoel Rappel.
Okay. Yitzhak Kerem, that is with us.
Yes, Professor Yitzhak Kerem is also here.
Was in my home 3 months ago because he was in Santiago.
Uh-huh.
הנה, יואל is unmuted.
הנה, את רואה? את שומעת אותי.
לכן זה אצלך הרעש לדעתי.
אוקיי.
רחל?
יש לי איזה בעיה, אוקיי.
כן, אצלך יש הרבה רעש.
Got it. How much do you think you missed? Not much.
Yes, a tickly.
We're going to start soon, so maybe you can put yourself on mute.
I see Professor Haim Russo is here with us. Professor Russo is from Russo family from Salonika.
Yes.
לא התחיל?
עוד לא.
This meeting is being recorded.
רגע. אוי, לך לחדר, זה ברמבה.
רחל, זה יסתדר אצלך?
מה?
מה?
אני מנסה רגע לסדר את התאורה באופן שיהיה יותר טוב.
אוקיי. רבקי, את רוצה להתחיל?
כן.
מעולה. תבקשי מהם לשים את עצמם על מיוט, זה יעזור לדעתי.
רגע, אני אשים את כולם על מיוט. Okay, so everyone is muted. Whoever wants to speak can unmute themselves. Welcome, everyone. My name is Rivka Rosenberg, and I am I'm delighted and honored to moderate this incredible evening with unbelievable speakers here. This is in front of you is the plan for this evening. We will begin by opening words by Dr. Racheli Kreisberg, the granddaughter of the late Simon Wiesenthal. Then we will proceed with Ambassador Shpen Sadiku, the Macedonian ambassador in Israel. After that, a few words by Dr. Yoel Rappel.
Because you look like a puppet.
After that, Rachel Chadayo, about the righteous among the nations from the Balkan countries. Dr. Rachel Sheli Levi-Drumer will talk about the Jews of Bitola following the path of Dr. Haim Abravanel, her grandfather. Then Mr. Gotze Stonayevsky and Mr. Zoran, who is not here tonight, will talk about uncovering Bitola, stories from its archive and literature. Racheli Kreisberg, Dr. Racheli Kreisberg will talk about the innovation she founded and she did on Bitola, and it's called SWIGGI. And Rabbi Susan Talvi from St. Louis, Missouri, will share about Bitola-Monastir heritage. And at the end, there will be questions and answers. I will try to address, if you put anything in the chat, I will try to address. But if you have any questions, please save them for the end. So welcome again, and let's begin.
So
I will say about Dr. Racheli Kreisberg, who I'm sure every one of you knows her. She's an entrepreneur and innovation expert. In 2016, she founded the Israeli-Dutch Innovation Center, fostering bilateral collaboration in science and technology. In addition to her professional achievements, Dr. Kreisberg is dedicated to commemorating the legacy of her late grandfather, Simon Wiesenthal. She founded the Simon Wiesenthal Genealogy Geolocation Initiative, and the acronym is SWIGGI. It's an innovative platform that integrates family trees designed to honor Holocaust victims through advanced digital tools. Dr. Kreisberg holds a PhD in biotechnology and molecular microbiology, an executive MBA from Tel Aviv University, and an M in science, master's in science and chemistry from the Technion. Her work reflects a unique blend of scientific expertise and a deep commitment to ethical responsibility inspired by her family's history and values. Dr. Kreisberg, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Rivki. And I will share my screen. Okay. So this evening is about SWIGGI Bitola. It's about Bitola, and it's also about Simon Wiesenthal. And as I am the only granddaughter, I will introduce my late grandfather in a more personal way in the next coming few minutes. I don't have a lot of pictures of myself and my grandfather, and therefore the pictures that I'm showing you here are very precious to me. On the left-hand side, you can see a picture that was taken in our home in Herzliya in 1982 on a family event. 10 years later, this is a picture of my grandfather and myself at the inauguration of the Simon Wiesenthal Center in Los Angeles. And in February 2005 in Vienna, you can see my late grandfather and myself sitting next to his dining table. This is a few months before he passed away. And from all these years, I have a lot of memories of my late grandfather, and of course, also of my late grandmother. Simon Wiesenthal was born on the 31st of December 1908 in Buchach, Galicia, nowadays in Ukraine. Here below, you can see a picture of Buchach. He had a brother named Hillel, and his parents were named Rosa Rapp, and his father was Asher Hensel Wiesenthal. Unfortunately, his father was killed in 1915 in World War I. His brother passed away from a disease, and his mother remarried and moved to another Galician shtetl. So Simon Wiesenthal remained by himself in Buchach. He was part of a youth organization. I think it's very easy to recognize him. He is already standing out here as he is not wearing the uniform, and he is in the middle and quite tall. Simon Wiesenthal studied building engineering at the Technical University of Prague and graduated in 1932. And he married my grandmother, Zila Müller, who was also from Buchach. They were born in 1908. My grandmother was a few months older than my grandfather. After his graduation, the young couple started their life in Lvov and Lemberg, and my grandfather worked there as an architect. And here you can see one of the houses that he designed. As the war started in 1941, upon the attack of Lvov by the Germans, my grandparents had to move to the ghetto. Here you can see on the left-hand side an image of or a map of the Lvov ghetto. You can see also what happened to the Judenrat in the ghetto. And close to this ghetto, there was also the concentration camp named Janowska. My grandfather helped my grandmother, and he had false papers for her. So now she was called Irena Kowalska, and she worked in Germany during the war and had no idea what happened to my grandfather, but that we will see in a few minutes. His mother, Rosa Rapp, was murdered in Belzec, and these were very, very difficult years. He was also part of the death march from Janowska via Plaszow to Großrosen to Buchenwald in Germany, and finally to Mauthausen. Mauthausen is famous, but in a negative way, of course, for the quarry in which the prisoners had to carry up the granite blocks, these 186 steps that you can see here, and many people collapsed from fatigue, and this of course caused others that were walking behind them to get hurt or even die themselves. Here you can see a picture of the steps at the Mauthausen concentration camp. Upon the liberation of the camp by the Colonel Richard Seibel from the US. You can see that my grandfather, who was a tall person, was weighing only 39 kilos. And at that point in life, he decided that he wants to work with the Americans in searching for Nazis and their collaborators. He also reunited with my late grandmother, which was, of course, a very happy event. Here you can see the couple, and here you can see my grandfather and my grandmother. And this is my mother, Paulinka. Paulinka is named after her late grandmother, Rosa. My mother was born in the deportation camp in not far away from Mauthausen in Bindermichel, and then the family moved to Linz. This in the city of Linz in Austria. This is where my grandfather started his work as Nazi hunter. Here you can see a map, a very famous map of my grandfather's, that was in my grandfather's office. I have seen the map in Vienna. My grandfather was involved in searching for Nazis, and he also wrote books. He worked for the Mossad. And I think that the list of Nazis that are well known to many of us is one of his major achievements, such as the contribution to the capture of Adolf Eichmann, the architect of the final solution, the capture of and bringing to justice Franz Stangl, the commander of Sobibor and Treblinka, and Walter Rauff, the inventor of the gas vents, Hermina Braunsteiner, the mayor of Majdanek, and also Karl Silberbauer, the SS officer who arrested the Frank family. And in that way, my grandfather helped also combat Holocaust denial. Both my grandparents passed away at an advanced age. My grandfather was almost 97 and my grandmother was 95 years old. They're buried in the cemetery, the old cemetery in Herzliya. Here you can see their tombstone. This is Simon's and this is Zila's tombstone. And the legacy that my grandfather left is one in which I believe he restored the dignity of the Jewish people. He combated Holocaust denial. He remembered the 6 million Jews, but not only the Jews, also other minorities. And he fought for justice, not revenge, and tolerance and humanity. For that, he also received awards such as the Presidential Medal of Freedom of the United States. And as I always say, that my grandfather did not forget the 6 million Jews, and we will not forget my late grandfather, okay? And this is one thing that's important to us. In order to keep the story alive, it's also in our hands, and therefore later on I will show you our website, and you also can contribute to the work that we do there. I think that for an introduction, I hope that you saw that Simon Wiesenthal is a very special person, and in his footsteps, we will all move on to the next presentations.
Thank you, Racheli. Very enlightening. And there's an important comment here that I hope Yitzhak Kerem will say at the end of the webinar during the Q&A. And we will now hear from Ambassador Shpen Sadiku, a wonderful friend of the Israel and the Jewish people who tirelessly works to combat anti-Semitism, to promote Holocaust awareness, and also in regards to health. So health collaborations, and Ambassador Shpen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me as part of this event dedicated to the memory of Simon Wiesenthal. It's really an honor. I was a student in Croatia back in the 90s, and you know the story about the Nazis in the Balkans and the concentration camp and so on. It was a live topic throughout the 90s and continue to be. And I remember reading about his life and work explained with one simple principle, that the victims of the Holocaust must never be forgotten, and that those responsible for crimes against humanity must never be allowed the comfort of disappearing. 2 days ago, there was an event at Bar Ilan University, and one of the speakers spoke about the danger of forgetting, the danger of revisionism, including what is happening after October 7. There is no doubt that the Holocaust is one of the most thoroughly documented part of the history of historical periods from the past. With eyewitnesses, testimonies, Nazi records, mass graves, trials, and so on. Allow me to make a short parallel with the Balkans, if possible. We had a terrible war in the early 90s with around 200,000 killed. What is happening 30 years later, that the region is facing an attempt very similar to the Holocaust denial, to change the narrative and the proven facts that we thought are very, very obvious. There are two conflicting, allow me to say, school of thoughts. One says that the war ended 30 years ago. We signed the Dayton Agreement in 1995. And we should move on. The other says that because narratives keep changing recently, we must keep reminding ourselves of the basic truths. You know the tragic fate of Macedonian Jews. For centuries, the community flourished in cities like Bitola, especially, but also Skopje and Štip, contributing immensely to the culture and civic life. Sadly, everything stopped in 1943. 98% of the Jewish community ended up in Treblinka. The tragedy remains one of the darkest chapters in our history. What the country has done, basically, it's built an institutional approach in dealing with the topic of the Holocaust. In 2021, we became a member of International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. And teaching about the Holocaust, it was the case before, but now again, as an kind of obligation to the schools to become part of the curriculum. In 2011, the Holocaust Memorial Center for the Jews of Macedonia was built. It's one of the biggest in the region and beyond. Not only as a monument to loss, but also as a space of education, dialogue, and a kind of reminder to future generation of what hatred can bring. In this sense, that approach and the legacy of Simon Wiesenthal are, allow me to say, somehow connected. Our belief is that remembering means educating, and that never again must be translated somehow into policies. This goes hand in hand with this insistence on accountability that is so visible in Simon Wiesenthal's legacy. 2 years ago, I remember having a quote of Simon Wiesenthal in one of the speeches in Yad Vashem. It's a famous one. Allow me to again say it. It's for evil to flourish. It only requires good men to do nothing. And I see our gathering this evening as a proof that we choose to do something, to remember, to educate, and to stand together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ambassador Spen, for your kind and powerful words, and for your friendship and all that you do for my people. We will continue right now with Dr. Yoel Rappel. Dr. Rappel is an Israeli historian specializing in Jewish history and the evolution of Jewish liturgy. He earned his PhD in Jewish history and rabbinic literature from Boston University and previously worked as a senior journalist and program editor for the Israel Broadcast Authority. Dr. Rappel curated Elie Wiesel's archive at Boston University's Center for Jewish Studies, edited Hebrew editions of Wiesel's work, and has authored 29 books and over 80 academic articles. He regularly accompanies the March of the Living journeys to Macedonia as a scholar in residence. Dr. Rappel, the floor is yours, and I will share your presentation. I think you need to unmute yourself.
You can do it in the presentation mode.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Great.
Yoel, you need to unmute yourself.
Oh,
okay.
Now it's okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, God. Okay, to speak 10 minutes, it's a very short while to speak about the Jewish community in Bitola, which is a very interesting Jewish community, only because, at least because the different origins of this community. Because if we are looking on the history of this community on the last 800 years, from the beginning on the 13th century, it's began with Jews from French and Germany. And usually people are speaking about the Bitola and the Jewish community as the people from Spain and Portugal, those who deported from Spain and Portugal at the end of the 15th century. But the history started at least 250 years before. So if we like to understand what we can find as remnants from the different years of the Jewish community, it's very difficult to say, because in the picture you can see the Jewish quarter in Girona, whatever you like to call it. And this is from the Ramban time, which is the 13th century, mainly from the 13th century. And Jews from this area first moved to the Balkan. Then people, you know, the explosion of the Jews, but the beginning are Jews which we can have to say, we must say, we know the history of the Jews. The history of the Jewish people is that those who left Israel, the land of Israel, to Europe, most of them left Israel, not Babylonian. And they moved to central Germany. And then they go down to the Balkan area. We can say Istanbul, Saloniki, this is the area. Part of it moved to the area of Bitola, which was a very small city as far as we know from excavation that has been made in this area. So if we are talking about a real Jewish community, we have to speak about the end of the 15th century, the beginning of the 16th century, when people come to Bitola, to the area of Macedonia, after the invitation of the Ottoman ruler. And, you know, we know that Bayezid invited the Jews to the Balkans. We know also that the expectation of the Ottoman Empire was that, as they know that the Jewish people are very good in business, they expected that they will do a very good business for the Ottoman Empire. So a few of the Jews moved to this area, to the Balkan, to the area of Bitola, and we can speak that from this time we have a Jewish community in Bitola. We can define those two kinds of Jews by the synagogues, because we have a synagogue of the Aragon area, and we have also a Portugal synagogue for the Portuguese people. And those, if somebody knows, it's two different minhagim of for the prayer, for the Jewish prayer. So always, as far as we know, it was always it's very difficult to say it was a fight between those Jewish community, but as far as we know, they didn't agree each other about what does it mean exactly to have a Jewish life. Okay, so from this time we can speak exactly about Jewish community in Bitola, because as far as I know today, maybe somebody else knows better, that we have no real information about the uh, Jews who came to Bitola between the 13th century and the end of the 15th century. So the real Jewish community is from the beginning of the 16th century. And from this time, the Jewish community is part of the city. And the Jewish community become bigger because the city become bigger. But as usual for the Jewish history, Jews in Bitola, they hold most of the business in Bitola. We know exactly that those who attacked the Jewish community, most of the time, even almost when it happened, it was only because commercial business, because the Jews were the wealthy community in Bitola. And I found when I sat I found when the Gucha showed me that the materials that the Nazis checked in Bitola was first of all, what is the properties of the Jewish communities? Because it was a very familiar that Jews has a property, a big, we must say, a big shops, a big businesses, and they have to pay a lot of taxes and so on. So from the 16th centuries, we can speak about sometimes that the Jewish community become bigger, sometimes they suffered from attacks, and a lot of people left, and then they returned. The biggest Jewish community in Bitola was at the second half of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century. And I think that this is the reason why we have some more books about this time. You can see the picture, for example, that the drawing of Gaston, the painter who came to Bitola, and this is one. You say Gaston Gamliel, he made 7 drawings of the Jewish community, the Jewish area, the Jewish, today we will call it ghetto of the Jews in Bitola. But this is an evidence because he show us how the buildings looks like on this time, because when we are doing a tour today in Bitola, we can see those buildings as it looks today, and he show us how it look at the beginning of the 20th century. So before the Holocaust, the Jewish community totally, it was around 3,800 people, but it was a very active community. They have school, they have synagogues, they have mikveh, they have Talmud Torah, they have a Jewish youth movement, different, for example, everybody who visited Bitola, I'm sure that you visited already the Shomer HaTzair building, which Rachel very likes to show the people what was the building and how it looked like now. But this building is an evidence. What does it mean? A Jewish community and a Jewish youth movement in this time. So a special minhag, custom of tefillah in Bitola was what we are calling the Romaniotim. You can see now Kilat Kodesh Monasteries, and Monastir is the other name of Bitola. But you must know that when it appears Kilat Kodesh Monasteries, it means that their custom in the synagogue was Romagnotti. Romagnotti is a unique custom. It's a very unique, and it was used only in Saloniki area, on north and northwest of Greece, in this area, in Thracia, but very few people today. I tried to find 2 years ago. I tried to find one full Romagnetic Siddur, and even at the National Library, they have not one copy of it, one copy. So we can't follow the exact tradition of this community during when they pray in their special synagogues, because it's very easy to use the Sephardic custom, but it was not the custom in Bitola. So I think that one of the challenge for Rachel is to find out how Jews used to pray in Bitola during at least the years from the 16 or the 16 and 1650 on the 17th century, on the 18th century. Unfortunately, we have no full Siddur from this time, and if somebody will succeed to find it, I will be very happy to see it. I know that some people believe that they found it. I checked with the people at the National Libraries, all the Siddurim that belong to them. It's not full Romagnetic custom, and unfortunately, at least this information we still miss.
Toda rabba. Thank you very much, Dr. Rappel, for these words and for these ideas. Thank you very much. We will continue on the Saloniki line with the Saloniki heritage, Saloniki descendant, Rachel Chadayo. Rachel Chadayo is a historian and educator at Ironi Dalet High School in Israel, specializing in cultural and diplomatic education. She's currently pursuing her PhD at Bar Ilan University under the supervision of the well-known Professor Shmuel Raphael, who is, I think, a specialist in Ladino, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken. Rachel Chadayo, the floor is yours, and I will share your PowerPoint. Rachel? Now you are again. Rachel? Who? We can't hear you. Nope. Can't hear you. Rachel, we can't hear you, so I don't know. Still can't hear you.
Can you unmute her?
She's not on mute.
Oh.
Nope. Love it. Okay, so maybe go out and come back into the Zoom. In the meantime, I think I will begin with what Rachel wanted to say about the righteous among the nations of Bitola. So the victims, for the 6 million victims, members of the Jewish community, for the Jewish families and for the communities, synagogues. Actually, maybe we should move. Rachel Druma, do you want to present? You want to present before Rachel Chadayo? Because it's
no problem.
Yeah.
Do you
okay.
want me to call Rachel Chadayo?
Okay, she'll come back in and she'll do after you. Okay? Okay,
Okay.
so Dr. Rachel Shelley Levi Drumer, born in Bitola. Dr. Drumer served as an academic secretary of Bar Ilan University from 2014 to 2024. She holds a bachelor in science and a master in science and chemistry, a PhD in biomathematical modeling, and an additional degree in statistics from BIU. Since 2007, she has coordinated the computational biology program and established a pioneering biomedical informatics program for physicians, joint program between Bar Ilan and Sheba. That's how I came to know Dr. Drumer. Dr. Drumer is deeply committed to the educational initiatives commemorating the Jewish community of Bitola-Monastir. She founded the idea of the March of the Living trips to North Macedonia, and this is, I believe, the 6th year of the March of the Living, and you are all invited to come. It's in the month of March. So, Rachel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I must admit I'm very, very, very excited. And Rachel Kreisberg seems that we are the only granddaughters of our grandfathers. So we have a lot of common to do together here. So I'm going to talk about my grandfather, Dr. Haim Abravanel, in which steps I'm trying to follow. So I'd like to present him and the legacy he left us. So here is a picture taken about 1960. Me and Dr. Haim Abravanel, my grandfather. And actually, Dr. Haim Abravanel was born in Pirot, Serbia. This is his family picture taken about the 30s. And we see a very, very big, nice family with 9 brothers. My grandfather is circled with yellow. And from all this, the people in this picture, the only survived from the Holocaust are those who are circled. The red circles are the brothers that survived because they were staying in the States, in Pittsburgh. And so only 4 survived from all this beautiful Abravanel family from Pirot. Immediately after this picture was taken, my grandfather got married and he moved to Macedonia. He married my grandmother, Berta Abravanel, Chelebonovich from Niš. And he survived the Holocaust. The whole family survived the Holocaust. Because he was a medical doctor and all the medical staff they let the medical staff out from the transports because of the typhoid epidemics that was at the time. And so he served as a medical doctor. He helped the partisans a lot. And then immediately after the war, he was appointed to be the manager of the hospital in Bitola. Bitola, the city that Dr. Yoel Rappel was speaking about, actually had about 3,400 Jews before the war. Of these 3,400 Jews, only 50 survived, about less than 2%. And most of them were young, from the youth movement, and they never came back to live in Bitola. Part of them established the Jewish community in Skopje, and part moved to Israel. So Dr. Haim Abravanel, my grandfather, was the only Jewish family in Bitola after the war, and it made a lot of his Jewish legacy and activities, the responsibility he took for presenting the whole Jewish community, the perished whole Jewish community of Bitola. So first of all, he was a medical doctor. Here we see a very nice picture with Manaki, Milton Manaki, that nowadays we have a big movie festival of Manaki. He was the first photo in the Balkan. So this is my grandfather treating Manaki. And here on the right up, we see the house of Dr. Haim Abravanel, where he was living, which was on one hand a center for patients and giving medical support, but as we see on the picture to the left down, it was a center for all the Jewish delegations that were visiting Bitola in commemorations or in any other event. Here we see most of the Jewish community of Skopje visiting a commemoration about the 60s at the house of Dr. Haim Abravanel. On 1958, 50 years after the Jews of Macedonia was sent to Treblinka on 1943, so 1958, my grandfather inaugurated the monument, the first monument in Macedonia, the monument commemorating the Jewish community of Bitola. Here he is talking in front of kids and people of Bitola. No Jews, no any other Jews in Bitola, I must emphasize. So nobody here is Jewish except my grandfather. And on the left, we see our family visit in Bitola in 2009. And you can see that this monument has a shape on one hand as a tree, a cut tree, and on the other hand as a menorah with 7 branches. So it is very symbolic, how it is designed. And every delegation visiting Bitola is visiting this monument. Rivki was there, Yoel was, Rachel Chadayo was there, and others. And the March of the Living actually is starting from this point. And this place is the place where the synagogues of Bitola that Yoel Rappel was talking about were located, the Cal de Aragon and Cal de Portugal. So this is where this monument inaugurated on 1958 is standing. On the back of the monument, you can see the local daily hospital of Bitola, which on 2019 got the name of Dr. Haim Abravanel Hospital or Dr. Haim Abravanel Medical Center. And here you can see pictures from this event. Here we see the previous manager of the hospital, and the mayor and the Minister of Health and Dan Oyan, the ambassador. Another very meaningful project that was bothering very much Dr. Haim Abravanel was the cemetery. The cemetery of Bitola is nowadays the biggest and the most ancient cemetery in all the Balkans. It is a cemetery that they started burying there on, as you can see, on 1497 up until the Holocaust, which means that the Jewish community was buried there for about 500 years. The cemetery was at that time in a very bad shape, and Dr. Abravanel was investing a lot of efforts to at least keep it as a cemetery. And thanks to him, we have today the cemetery, even though it was in a very bad shape. Unfortunately, on 1963, there was an earthquake in Macedonia where my parents and my uncle, I mean the daughter, the son, and the son-in-law of Haim and Berta were killed. And I survived because I was staying with my grandparents, and we came to Israel. But the legacy of the family was following my life, all my life. And that's what made me talk about Bitola and the legacy of Bitola with the previous ambassador of Israel to Macedonia, Dan Oyan. And on 2015, we started the project of cleaning the cemetery in support of the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and led by Dan Oyan, the ambassador, and Mima. Mima here, she was the actual leader in Bitola. She is not Jewish, but she was leading the project, and we uncovered, as you can see, 4,000 gravestones About a third of the cemetery was cleaned, as you can see here. And there are pictures of 4,000 gravestones, which is another project that we're not talking about it now. Unfortunately, all the other area, all this hill is the cemetery. And I'm very sad to say that nowadays the gravestones are not clean as it looks here. And I hope that this project will move further with the support of everybody here and others. And as Rivki mentioned, since 2017, we started with March of the Living in Bitola every 10th of March, which is the day when the Jews of Macedonia were collected and sent to Treblinka. We are marching in Bitola from the monument that we saw previously to the railway station, and with a lot of other ceremonies these days. With us, we have a lot of friends coming to the commemorations and to the march, a lot of Israelis and people from all over the world, including Hans Schultz. He is a pastor from Baden-Baden, who is helping for all this project in Bitola. And also Sarah Oesti, that unfortunately is not participating today because her cousin Rachel died. She was the oldest person living born in Bitola on 1917. She just passed away 2 days ago, and today was her funeral in the States. But Sarah Oesti is bringing every year a group of monasterlis from the States to visit Bitola and the cemetery. In all our events, we're doing a lot of inclusion, including participants from all religions, Muslims, of course Jews, but Muslims, Christians, and others. And also we have participants of people with special needs. Here on the left, we see the band, the musical band of people with special needs that is coming with us and singing on all the events during the March of the Living and the commemoration. And on the right, we see 4 photographers that participated on 2023 and we made a very nice exhibition of their pictures, how they documented the March of the Living. And this table is standing just in front of the hospital, and we can see it is summarizing the life of Dr. Haim Abravanel that we are trying to follow. On the left, it is his family life. In the center is his professional life as a medical doctor. And on the right, we see his activities in commemorating the Jewish life of Bitola. Last year, we had this is a picture from the day of the March of the Living in Bitola, of a very nice event that Gotze organized, who is going to talk a little bit later. And I'm very, very happy and proud to declare and say that Holy Family is participating in all these activities. So here are my husband, my son, he's called after my grandfather Haim, and he just finished medicine these days and started working as a medical doctor. So this is another legacy that is fulfilled, and we're trying to follow with this also the legacy of Dr. Haim Abravanel, my son-in-law, and my daughter. And this is my son in the Technion, finished medicine with the name of Haim. And I'd like, as Rivki mentioned, to invite everybody to come and march with us in Bitola on the March of the Living of this year, which will be on Tuesday, 10th of March 2026. Details, of course, and information Rivki can provide everybody. And I'd like to thank everybody that has the team of the SWIGGI, the leading team of the SWIGGI Bitola. First of all, Dr. Racheli Kreisberg, and Gotze and Zoran, and of course, Rivki, who is moderating this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rachel, very much. And let's try again Rachel Chadayo, who I met on the March of the Living 2 years ago.
שומעים אותי?
כן.
עכשיו שומעים?
יופי.
יופי, אז תעלי את המצגת בבקשה, רבקי.
Okay. As this is Rachel Chadayo from Saloniki descendant.
Right. So, רחלי דרומר, זה הרעש מאצלך, תודה. So just to add a short sentence to Rivki's words, because I feel the honor that also Professor Dina Porat from Tel Aviv University, Emerita Professor, is as well the supervisor of my PhD together with Professor Shmuel Rafael from Bar Ilan. So following the lectures of my friends of Racheli Drumer and of course Dr. Yoel Rappel, I would like to briefly address one of the most important and meaningful chapters in the history of the Holocaust, one that must always serve a guiding light for us, the chapter of the righteous among nations. And of course, I will be focusing myself into the Bitola case only, and not the Balkan as it's written on the brochure, because it would be much bigger talking about the Balkan righteous among nations. As you are surely aware, in 1953, the Knesset enacted the Yad Vashem law, Holocaust Terrorism Remembrance. This law was intended to define the responsibilities of the national memorial institutions for the remembrance of the Holocaust and its victims. The law set forth 9 objectives. So please pass to the next. Oh, okay. So first is for the 6 million victims, I mean the members of the Jewish people. The second is the Jewish families. And the third is for the communities, synagogues, movement, organization, public, cultural, educational, religious, and other charitable institutions. So you can see that they moved from individual through the families into the community. Please move one slide. The next 3 laws are talking about the courage of the Jews who gave their lives for their people in sanctity of purity, for the heroism of the Jewish soldiers in the armies, in all armies where they fought against the Nazis, of course. And the 6th is the saga of heroism, the siege inhabitants in the ghettos and the fighters in the revolts in everywhere on the map of Europe, wherever it happened. So we can see that there is a move from the individual, again, through the soldiers, which is a mass, into the ghetto fighters to cover all the issue of fighting against the Nazis. And the next 3 and the last are the struggling on brick, on annihilation. The multitudes of house of Israel preserve their humanity and dignity. I mean, to keep your human being, to be a human being. And then the efforts to make people to immigrate in order to save their life. And the last one, which is the most important for our case, is the righteous among nations. Can you please close your mute? Thank you. So the law charged the Remembrance Authority with commemorating the righteous among nations, which each case being examined carefully by the public commission chaired by Justice of Supreme Court, basic on survivor testimonies or other authorities' documentation. Please move to the next slide. There are one before. There are few criteria to get this. No. You just.
I got. Sorry,
okay.
but.
So there are 4 criteria actually in order that someone will get this exclusive award from the State of Israel. First of all, he should be rescue Jewish, or at least try to rescue any Jew's life. It doesn't mean that he succeeded. It might be totally lost, that both sides were lost their life. He did it with a great risk for his life and the life of his family sometimes, and sometimes the life of the neighbors where he's living. The third, that he did it without getting anything from the one he saved. Not money, not any houses, or even not changing his belief. I mean, to convert him into Christianity or something like that, or even using him in different way. And of course, the fourth one is that there are evidence that the rescue was done. Must be some testimonies, more than one, that we can crucify and find that this story is true. After all these checks are done, so one can get the award, which is the highest award that the State of Israel is giving to someone who tried to save the life of Jewish during the war. Please move on. As for today, one more. As for today,
I got something wrong here. Oh, sorry.
One more. That's it. So as for today, Yad Vashem has recognized 28,486 righteous among nations, all from all over Europe, and not only from Europe, there are from Japan as well. So it's all in all. And I can tell you that most of them, nearly 40% out of them, are from Poland, which is interesting for itself, but we will not talk about it now. Among those 28,486 people, 10 actually are righteous among nations from Macedonia, from North Macedonia, and out of them 11, not 10, and out of them 3 are from Bitola. So move one more. And these are the names of all the Macedonians righteous among nations. You can see that there are couples here, like the first couple and the second couple. And then those who are lighted in blue are those from Bitola. It's Stoyan Silanovsky and Altipamak Vatska and Boris together as a couple who got this award. The Jewish community of Bitola was the community whose annihilation was almost total, and was destruction left behind very few survivors, testimonies, or living continuities. Precisely for this reason, exactly for this reason, the rare acts of rescue that were documented and later recognized acquire particular historical and moral significance. The destruction of the community took place in a very short time in March 43, under Bulgarian occupation, which operated in close coordination with the Nazi Germany. The Jews of Bitola were deported within a matter of days. The Jewish population was rounded up, transferred via Skopje, and deported to Treblinka extermination camp, where they were exterminated in a very short time from the minute they got the place. According to the available data, we are talking about more or less 3,200 Jews, more or less. Of course, the number is not accurate because of all the reasons, but this is all in all the number. There was no prolonged ghetto period like it was in East Europe. So no ghetto, no time to think too much about what is going to be the next step, or even time to escape or find a way to escape. And almost no survivors could later bear a witness. That's the biggest problem with this community of Bitola. In this sense, Bitola represents an extreme case of rapid and nearly complete annihilation. I will move on because my time is short, and I will try to speak now about the first case of Vaska and Boris Altipamak. It's the first, the one. Please move one back. That's it. These are the couple. The couple lived in Bitola during the period of the Bulgarian occupation, and Boris was involved in the underground resistance activity. On 11th of March, during the mass roundup of the Jews in Macedonia, Solomon Sadikario, nicknamed Mo, fled from Bulgarian police and sought refuge in several homes in Bitola, but was turned away each time. Solomon was member of the Yugoslav Socialist Youth Movement, known as SKOJ, and it appears that through his contacts there, he learned of Boris Altipamak, who was connected with the Macedonians underground. When Solomon finally arrived to the home of Boris agreed to hide him in his house, and of course he kept them, Solomon and later on another 5 people together with him, and saved their life. Since I have 1 minute more, Rivki, tell me, I will move to the last one, thank you, to Stoyan Silanovsky. He was as well a member of the underground resistance movement and the owner of a small tobacco shop in the center of Bitola. I think this shop is still existing today. Also, he located directly opposite to the Bulgarian police station, which was very risky because when he opened his door to accept 5 Jewish girls, and put them at the back of his shop, little shop, in front of the police station, the Bulgarian police station, he just like put his neck to the one who is going to kill him, but he did it. And by that, he saved the life of these 5 girls. Among them is Jamila Kolonomos, which is very known as a member of the underground later on, and a very famous brave of Macedonia. And I think my time is out, so I just tell you thank you for your time, and sorry for the technical problem that we had at the beginning.
Thank you very much, Rachel. These important words about the righteous among the nations. And Rachel Drumer's family was also saved by righteous among the nations, and we must not forget them. Right now, we will move to Mr. Gotze Stolaevsky. And Gotze is the director of the State Archive in Bitola, and a leading researcher on the history of Jewish community of Bitola-Monastir. He participated in the Holocaust Studies program at the University of Haifa, deepening his expertise in archival preservation and historical documentation. Gotze, the floor is yours. And unmute yourself. There we go.
Okay. Thank you very much. I hope that you can see my screen.
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this webinar, and it's such an honor to be one of the speakers in this event. I'm as you mentioned, Rivki, I'm historian and archivist, and I work in the archive in Bitola. And for me, as a historian and archivist, the turning point of every research is the archival documents and archival stories that are coming out from these documents. You cannot build any kind of story without any kind of historical documents and archival documents. So what we have I'm here to present a little bit of what we have as an archive in Bitola and why we are one of the maybe archives in this part of Europe that has something to share with the public and to be like some kind of maybe milestone for future research. And I'm always saying that this part of Europe and the Holocaust that happened here is under research topic. So yes, we need to dig a little bit in the archives and to do research and to share what we have. And my approach on this is that we need to share everything and to become like as much as I don't know, reachable to the people and to their research books and so on, so on. So yeah, I'm here just to share a few things. Yeah, as it was mentioned before, the Jewish community that used to live here in Macedonia and in Bitola was part of the Sephardic Jewish community that from Spain was migrating here in the Balkans during the late 15th century. And what we see here is one of the oldest documents that we have in Macedonia is like Torah scrolls. We have 4 of them. And recently, like a few years ago, we sent those documents to the University of Washington. We get translation of these documents, and we try to get like a date when they were like made. And since the documents were not physically present to the people that were researching this, they gave us approximately date that they are from they're in between 13th and 15th century. So this is one of the oldest documents that we held in Bitola. And yeah, the story how this document came in our archive is something really, really interesting, but we have no time to discuss about this. But my point is that since the beginning, we have documents and we have the way how to follow the Jewish community here since the beginning until the end, until the 1943. So yeah, this is one of the documents that we are super proud to have, and it's like one of the unique documents that we have in this part of Europe. Here we can see the map of Bitola from 1930. We are focused now in this period in 1930s and so on. Yeah, I can say that the city itself, and it's not changed much even today. It's preserved like it is from the 30s, and we can follow here all the streets, the name of that time, the names of the streets of that time, and we can follow the streets where the Jewish community was more present. And for example, this area was populated with the Jewish community, and it's like one of the things that we are I don't know, doing to map the houses and to keep what is today. Yes, I am always considering the primary sources like super important for every research, and what we have in Bitola and in our archive is, and it's important for this, is like few collections that we have. One of these collection is called like Bitola Jews collection, and refers to extensive archives, primarily photographs and documents preserving the history of the large Sephardic Jewish community in Bitola, especially before their deportation. And this was made by Yaakov Aroesti, one of the few survivors from this city, who dedicated his life on and he was working in the archive in Bitola, and he dedicated his life and career to preserve everything that was connected with these families. Also, Monaki Brothers photographic collection. It's one of the rare collections that we have, maybe in the Eastern Europe, maybe largest collections made by 1 or 2 authors. They were brothers. And yes, this archive of early Balkan photography and cinematography, primarily held at the State Archives in Macedonia, in Bitola, has over 18,000 or 20,000 negatives, glass plate negatives, sheeted roll films, and thousands of prints documenting files, people, and historical events from this period. And I have to mention that maybe 10% of these photographs are with the Jewish community that used to live here in Bitola. We can see here some of the photographs. I choose like few of them. We can see here one rabbi, one Jewish family. This is very important and very nice photograph. This is Maccabi motorcycle club visiting Bitola. They came from Israel to Bitola in 30s, and here you have all the Jewish community with them there. This is like a funeral here of one very notable Jewish person in Bitola. So yes, we do have a lot of photographs and documents connected with this. How we managed to follow the families and to follow the I mean, yes, we do have these census books from 1932, which is like one of the main sources that we have. And yes, we need to work on this, and it's not easy to work with this kind of documents because it's like new found and it was kind of damaged, and now it's like reparated and conservated. And yeah, we work on this, and we are trying to manage and to connect this information from these census books to those that Yaakov Aroesti present to his work. Yes, we do have challenges in this kind of research that we are doing here. Like we have new names of the streets. It's one of the challenges to find and to follow the old names and the new names of the streets. We have trouble reading cursive handwriting. Most of the documents are handwritten and cursive letters, and it's not easy to read. Massive database that containing over 900 families. It's like a huge database that we need to work on it, and digitization process is something that we need to follow in the next years. And yeah, we are facing these challenges, but we are working on this, and I'm happy to say that this project that maybe Dr. Kreisberg will present later, SWIGGI, maybe will be one of the projects that can do something good for the history of the Jewish community of Bitola. I said I'm going to be like super short, and I have like one sentence to say. When I start my studies at the University of Haifa, our first class was and we were asked if you have opportunity to meet some person from that period, which person would be that one, and what you're gonna ask this person. And I said like Simon Wiesenthal, and what is going to be your question? And I was like, maybe I will ask him, when courts can no longer deliver justice, can memory itself become justice? So yes, we need to keep this memory, and we need to work on this. And I hope I will see you, all of you, in March for the March of the Living. And thank you very much for this opportunity. And yes, thank you.
Thank you, Godse, very much. And thank you for being such a good friend. And I mustn't forget mentioning also Mr. Zoran Georgiev, who was not here today. He's on a fun ski trip. Zoran kindly shared, as you do, with Racheli and with Rachel, the data from the archives. Zoran is a tour guide and author, and he has written several books dedicated to the Jewish heritage of Bitola. His work combines historical scholarship with cultural storytelling, making the legacy of the community accessible to the wide audience. And again, once again, thanks to both of you, Gotze and Zoran, this initiative has come to life. And I said I would only look at the chat here at the end, but there is one person who is Karin Bana, who wrote here that the Ishach family in the census that you just showed, screenshot, is her family. Perla is her grandmother. So I found this interesting. We can open the chat after that to the Q&A, but right now we are going to hear Dr. Racheli Kreisberg about the SWIGGI Bitola initiative that just came to life.
Thank you very much. So I think that in the list of speakers, we have several historians, of which I'm not part, and several people that are more in the field of science. And in that aspect, I relate to Dr. Rachel Drummer and also to Gotche as an archivist, bringing data to life. And I think that this is maybe a very nice moment that I will share with you the SWIGGI Bitola platform that we are developing in collaboration with the people that you will hear about soon. So if you can just tell me that you can see my slides.
Yes.
1 seconde. Wacht even. I just want to move this, hide the floating meeting controls. And okay. So SWIGGI Bitola. Rivki?
Yes.
I asked if you can see it in presentation mode. I wasn't sure.
You were frozen, so I didn't hear.
I was frozen. That's not good. So let me do it again. 1 second, please. I will open the presentation again. Can you see my slides?
Not yet.
You don't see my slides?
No.
Okay, I'll do it again. Share screening has filled. 1 seconde, I'll do it again. Can you see my slides now?
Yes.
All right. And now you can see them in presentation mode, right?
Yes, now yes.
All right, great. So as I told you, I'm more of a scientist than an historian, but I would like to start with a point in history in order to start our journey. And that is what was already mentioned in the previous presentations, the expulsion of the Jews from Spain and Portugal. And that was also a way of the Jews to make their home in the Balkans. So you can see on the left-hand side, it's the original edict signed by Ferdinand and Isabella. This document comes from the Anu Museum, the Diaspora Museum at Tel Aviv University. And what you can see on the right-hand side are the path of the Jews that were expelled from Spain and Portugal. So we have the immediate destinations, which include Portugal and North Africa, the Ottoman Empire, of which Israel was, of course, part at that time, and the Balkan countries. Later on, the Jews migrated also to the Netherlands and to the Americas. Why am I mentioning this? I'm mentioning this because of my grandfather, because Simon Wiesenthal was not only a Nazi hunter, he was not only an architect. Simon Wiesenthal was very interested in many, many topics, and among them he was focusing also on the interesting question of the origin of Christopher Columbus. And therefore, he wrote a book which is called Sails of Hope. I know there's debate about this, whether the roots of Christopher Columbus were Jewish or not. But as I like to show you some personal things here again, this is not my picture, it's a picture from Getty, in which you can see my grandfather presenting the book of Sails of Hope about Christopher Columbus. The Jews in the Balkans, they have been presented in previous presentations, both when focusing on Bitola, Saloniki, where Rachel Chadayo is from, and I will also introduce Kastoria in Greece. We, in the SWIGGI initiative, we focus on Greece, so on Kastoria and on Saloniki, and recently we are adding North Macedonia to our sites that we focus on. What am I trying to tell you? We have developed over the last 20 years a platform, a Simon Wiesenthal platform, which focuses on 5 pillars. The acronym of these pillars is Recht. Recht in German means justice. And as I told you in the beginning, my grandfather stood for justice, not revenge. So the R is research, the E is education, the C is the commemoration of my late grandfather, The H is the Holocaust Memorial initiatives that we have, and T is the tours. I'm also a tour guide. So this platform enables us to provide a lot of data as well as educational tools and other means to the public. And I will share this now with you so you can see what we have done on the newly added North Macedonian country. What we are doing is based, among others, on the work of, or the book of Zoran Georgiev, whom Rivki mentioned just a few minutes ago. So Zoran, he wrote a book, which is called The Remnants of Jewish Heritage in Monastir Bitola, and that is one of the sources of the work that I will show you. Another source is the United States Holocaust Museum, its website, in which there are names of people with their pictures as well as their addresses. What are we doing? Here is the essence of our work. Basically, in the previous presentations, you've seen people, you have seen a map of Goce, of Bitola from 1930. You've heard stories, you've seen some houses. What we are doing is we are trying to link all that data to a map so that you can either virtually or physically visit these houses. And the current map that we have is a pilot project that we initiated a few months ago, together with Yossi Beck, the programmer who is in the audience, as well as Maya Zakarin, who is the project manager. And so far, from the 900 houses that Goce mentioned beforehand, we have mapped 35 houses. In these 35 houses, we have 54 people and one family tree. So we enable you to search this. This is a platform that is searchable through a search engine. And you can search it in two ways. One is using names. So that's what we call the genealogy part, the family history part. So you can search using a name. It can be first name, a last name. It can be a birth year or a death year. And you can also search using a family tree. This is very, very unique. The other way of searching this platform is through the addresses, through the what we call the geolocation. So you can put in a name of a street and a house number, and Goce said correctly that there is an issue of the names of the streets before the war and after the war, but we manage because we're a good team and we work nicely together and we can put a lot of thought into this. So let me show you, if I go now to a book, the book of Zoran, in which he describes different families. You can see here, there's a nice foreword, there's an introduction, and then there is a list of, or the different chapters that describe the life of these families in Bitola. The Franco family, the Aseo family, the Nachmias, Batino, Colonomos, Albala, etc. And here you can see, for instance, a family picture of a wedding of the family of Israel Aseo and Julia Batino. So let's have a look how we can create some way to link the information that is described in the book to a map that we can use in order to visit it. So as I told you, we have at the moment several houses that are linked to the map. And I will just show you now two of these houses. The first one is house number 10, which is nowadays the Roosevelt Street. In this house, we have information on 4 people from the Franco family, from Sheldon Franco and his wife and 2 children that lived in this house. So you can think of SWIGGI as a ways of genealogy. Ways is a tool that enables us to get to a certain place where we want to go to, and this is what we do. For a given house, okay, let's say for instance house number 10, we provide us the list of the people that lived in this house, but much more. We also show a family tree, okay? We are standing on a house, we're standing on Google Maps, we see information on a given house, including the family tree of these people. Here below you can see the family tree. This is quite unique because we are linking now a family tree to a specific house on a map of data that is relatively old. These people lived in the 1930s and were murdered during the Holocaust. On the other side, you can see another family living on the Vienska number 6 street, and the Albala person here has this family tree that again can be shown. So we link family trees to locations and enable people to commemorate Holocaust victims through what we call the Simon Wiesenthal Holocaust Memorial Pages. Every person that we commemorate, and we commemorate in the initiative, a lot of people has his or her unique URL. So by clicking on this URL, you will get to the page of that person. And for every person, we could have the birth information, the death date and location, as well as a link to the house, to a family tree, and many other pieces of information, such as those gotcha that you showed. For a given person, we can add more information. Now let's look for example, at two people and see how we link this to another SWIGGI project that we have. The person we will focus on, the couple we will focus on, are Leon Franco, who is originally from Saloniki, and he married Rebecca Pisirillo. She was born in Castoria in 1923, while as he was born in Bitola in 1920. And they are a couple, and the story of the people that I'm showing you here can later be visited while going to the Holocaust Encyclopedia. Leon Franco was deported to Auschwitz and not to Treblinka. His wife, who was in her 9th month, was also taken by the International Red Cross to a hospital, and they both perished. Their daughter, let's have a look, their daughter, Esther Franco, survived. Why am I showing you this? Because you can see that we have here a person from Bitola and a person from Castoria. And if we go now to the map of SWIGGI Castoria, and we also have people here from the SWIGGI Castoria initiative, you can see that if we will enter the family name Pistorillo in the Castoria map, we will find several houses of these people. This means that in the work that we carry out here as a team of Maya, Yossi Beck, and myself, we link the names of the people not only to one city, but to multiple cities in the Balkan countries or in Europe. And I think that this project has enormous potential so that we can include the data on the 900 families, incorporate them in this work. In other cities, and this will be my final sentence, Rivki, for instance, in Vienna, what we do, we manage to develop educational programs with the Austrian parliament, which enable us to get to schools, and therefore the educational impact of what we're doing is huge. And I wish the Bitola community to reach the size of the project that we currently have in Vienna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Racheli, for this very innovative SWIGGI. And I think on behalf of all of us, we thank you for the SWIGGI Bitola. We hope that this will only grow, and thanks to, again, Gotze and Zoran and whoever can participate in some way to grow this SWIGGI Bitola. And as we say in Hebrew, Achrona Chaviva. This is my connection, Rabbi Susan Talvi, who all my life I've known, and I always thought she's from Saloniki, but then I talked about Rachel Levi-Drumer last Pesach, and Susan said that she's from Macedonian heritage. So right away I made this shidduch, as they say, this matchmaking. So Rabbi Susan Talvi, straight from St. Louis, Missouri, in the United States, and her husband here is Rabbi James Goodman, who I have to say in parentheses was always studied with my late grandfather in St. Louis and knew very well. That's how I know them. So Rabbi Susan Talvi is the founding rabbi of Central Reform Congregation in St. Louis, Missouri. It's a very, very large congregation, ordained by Hebrew Union College in 1981. She holds a master's in Hebrew letters and a doctor of divinity. Rabbi Talvi received multiple awards and led CRC in championing radical inclusivity, supporting LGBTQ rights, interfaith alliances, and social justice. In 2022, she founded the Ashrei Foundation in St. Louis. Throughout Susan's career, she has been an advocate for healthcare access, civil rights, and community service. And it is my great honor and pleasure to introduce Rabbi Susan Talvi.
Thank you, Rifki. Thank you, Rifki. Thank you to all of you. What a blessing. What a privilege to be here and to honor all of these grandfathers of blessed memory. I'd like to add a little story about a grandmother to this mix. So my Nonna Sarika saved my life when I was a baby. When I would ask her to tell me the story of how she saved my life, she would say, "Querida, God saved your life." Her humility and strong faith as a Jewish woman touched every part of me. Growing up, I would enter my grandparents' apartment in Brooklyn, New York, and I knew I was entering another world. My Nonna, Sarika Arawesti Talvi, the daughter of Reina Sarfati and Yitzhak Arawesti, Russo and Louis Talvi, who was known in Monastir, I just learned, as Sabah, took their home with them when they boarded a boat in 1916 with their first child, Reina, who was named for her mother's mother, who was very much alive. In their new home, they only spoke Ladino and kept the culture close to their hearts. The story that we heard was that my grandfather convinced my grandmother that they had to leave their home in Monastir because my grandfather was afraid that the Bulgarians would force him into service. They escaped, landed at Ellis Island, and made their way to the Lower East Side, where my father Mushon was born on the kitchen table, the fifth of 7 children. They may have been poor in material goods, but they were rich with memory and with stories. My cousins and I would take turns braiding Sarika's long hair and ask her the secret to her perfectly smooth olive skin. And when she knew we were serious, she would tell us about the clean, pure water in the well of her hometown of Drama, where she began her life. All beginnings, she would say, are important, as if to suggest that those waters were connected to her beauty and to her faith. She would tell us that her mother, Reina, was educated and that she could read. And then she would say, it's important for girls to be educated. One of my favorite stories was about how she met Sabitai. He was visiting Drama just before Shabbat when young girls were gathered around the well. Each girl held a flower, and my papu went from flower to flower until he found the sweetest one. She took him home for Shabbat. She was only 17, but they were married soon after that. We would act out the story and giggle until she would begin feeding us the magical treats that came from her kitchen. That's the picture of the, did you see the picture of the spinach pies? There they go. These are not perfect because my grandson made them just a while ago. But her way of making burekas with spinach, she said the cheese can be in triangles, but the spinach has to be rolled in circles. I imagine this came from either Drama, Monastir, or Castoria, which also I found in the papers of my aunt, that somehow the family had roots in Castoria as well. This is my aunt, Clarissa, the youngest child of Sarika and Sabitai, who loved this culture so much. She actually went back to Spain and became a flamenco dancer, but also was a belly dancer. I don't have those pictures, but they're in her book. Another one of the stories, though, that my grandparents told in a whisper was how they waited too long to send for my grandfather's parents and his sister Palomba. They made it to Ellis Island, we're told, but they were sent back because Palomba had pink eye. My Aunt Clarissa, who you saw, who became a well-known flamenco and belly dancer, told us that they were sunk by a German U-boat. But when my aunt died this year, I found pictures of Palomba and her children, who most likely perished in Treblinka, with so many others of Monastir. That was the 5th slide. I don't know if you saw Palomba and her children. That's Palomba and her children, who we thought died when she was very young. But then in my aunt's papers I found this picture of Palomba, and she must have been married and had 3 children, but we don't really know anything more about them. You see, for my father's generations, there were no grandparents, no aunts or uncles or cousins that we knew of. And somehow, in the silence, we just didn't ask. My grandfather loved life. That's the next slide. He loved to party, but he always had one eye laughing and one eye crying. As Rebbe Nachman described how we as Jews must learn to hold brokenness and joy at the same time. That was the picture of my grandfather, looking like he had a cigarette and a drink in one hand, one before that one. One before this one. There he is. That's Papa Sam, Sabitai. You know, he loved party, but you could always see a little sadness because of all the people that he left behind that we really never learned about and are hoping so much to learn about now for all these efforts. I wanted to understand the soul of the Sephardic culture of the Jews of the Ottoman Empire. Mostly, I think, to come to terms with the kind of sexism of my grandfather, Sabitai. So I studied the Me'am Loez, a commentary of the Torah that was written in Ladino by Yaakov Huli, who was living in the Ottoman Empire in the early part of the 18th century. As the Ottoman world declined, the Jewish community also suffered. His goal was to revive and unify the Jewish community and bring them back to Rabbinic Judaism. He used stories and midrash in the same way that the Saint Irena was supposed to bring people back to Ashkenazi Judaism. He wrote the Me'am Loez to bring the Sephardic community back to the tradition. I expected to find laws that would discriminate more against women than the rabbinic texts of the same period in the Ashkenazi world. But what I found was the absolute opposite. I found that Huli learned that if his commentary was to be accepted, he had to reconsider the rabbinic treatment of women. The liberal response of 16th century rabbis, the exposure to the anti-halachic messianism of the Sabbatean movement, which offered women equal status, and a community whose imagination was fired by Kabbalistic stories and images, which included the Shekhinah and other more inclusive metaphors for God. These shaped a commentary that was much more progressive for women. Now, I have to say, my grandparents never understood my studying to be a rabbi, as you can imagine. They came from another world. My grandfather, when I told him I was going to be a rabbi, he said, "But you got to sing," because singing was the most important part of the synagogue for him, the sounds and the singing and the chanting. And you'll see I'm not such a great singer.
But your husband is.
Yes, he's a good singer. I'm glad he's here. Once when I was studying in New York after my grandfather died, Sarika was very sick in a hospital not far from where I was living. I became her blood donor because we share a strange Sephardic enzyme, and I was the only one who could give her blood for some reason, some kind of Sephardic gene that made me be able to be her blood donor. I also brought her lentils, because that was the only food that she would eat. And one night I got the call, "Come quickly, your grandmother is dying," they said. So I ran. I wanted to be there with my grandmother as she went from this world to the next. And I got there, just as I got there, expecting to be able to say the prayers to help her go to the next world. There she was, sitting up in bed, tying red ribbons everywhere, to keep away the ayin hara, the evil eye. The doctors and the nurses were staring in amazement. "Savroza," she said, "get me a rabbi." I said, "Nona, I am a rabbi." Well, she laughed and told me that Sabitai, my grandfather, had come to her all dressed up from the next world. He was so handsome, she said, and he said to her, "Sarah, it's not your time." My grandmother lived 2 more years. There she is with me. But she lived to see my daughter, Sarika, named for her, and my father, Mushon, who will be 100 years old in March. He has lived to see my daughter, Sarika's son, Mushon, who's named for him. Little Moshiko will be 1 in a few weeks. And his great-grandfather, Moshon, will be there to celebrate with him. You know, I do most of the life cycle events in my family. It's just easy to call me for the weddings, the bar mitzvahs, and the baby namings. But when it came to my grandmother's funeral, they wanted a real rabbi to say Kaddish. My father insisted that I give the eulogy because no one knew my nonna like I did, and everyone knew that. But when it came to the Kaddish, they hired a Sephardic Orthodox rabbi to say the words that would bring peace to her soul. I gave the eulogy, and then I stepped aside for the real rabbi to lead the Kaddish prayer. But instead, I saw that he was standing there with tears in his eyes. He nodded to me to continue. I think what happened in that moment was that the separation of all of these worlds came together. Our hearts were opened by a tradition that is meant to open hearts and minds and not close them. A tradition that is meant to be loving, like the grandfathers we have heard of, and like my grandmother, Sarika. With tears in our eyes for this woman who had pushed our tradition to its best, we all led the Kaddish together. For Sarika Arawesti Talvi, the daughter of Reina and Yitzhak, and then her children and her grandchildren, who are really more American than anything else, for a moment we remembered not that we were the children of Sam and Sarah of Brooklyn, but that we were the people of Sarika and Sabitai of Monastir. And for the last time, we sang to her favorite lullaby. Dorme, dorme, mi alma donzella. Dorme, dorme, sin ansia y dolor. Dorme, dorme, sin ansia y dolor. Oh, Rachel, Shelley, I see you singing along. I'm so grateful to you and to Rifki, to all of the Rachels, really, to the Rachels, and to all of you here. I'm so grateful to you who are keeping this heritage alive from its source and from its soul, so that we can continue to learn from the legacy of those we've lost for the sake of those who are yet to come.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Nothing else to say.
One thing more. I want to tell Rachel Kreisberg that our daughter of blessed memory, whose Jahrzeit was yesterday, as a matter of fact, when she was in school, she took the sunflower. She made everyone in the school read the sunflower, and then she had them all respond because she wanted to teach them about forgiveness. She wanted to teach them about justice and not about revenge. And so somewhere in Missouri, there is a whole generation of school children who have read The Sunflower, and I'm sure it changed their lives.
Thank you.
Adina was a very special, very, very, very special young girl. She spread true adinut in the world, and her life. Maybe this webinar can be in her memory. Teheh nishmata tzrura b'tzror hachaim. So with these powerful words and inspirational words, we end this webinar, but we will not end before we open the floor for you, all our participants, to ask any questions. I saw here many comments that I will try to address. Someone asked me for, Susan, your email, so I took the liberty of sending this. It says here, does anybody have any questions? Let's open this to the crowd. And you're getting a lot of love, Susan. Anybody have any questions?
May I ask a question?
Of course, of course.
Yes, my family and I have been to Monastir a few times. I have 4 grandparents that were born there, and we'd like to go to Aragon in Spain to see where the family originated from in the 1400s. I was there a few years ago, and I was not able to find out any information of where in Aragon the family came from. I'm wondering if anyone could give me some advice and point me in the direction of someone who may have that information.
I will try and relate to this. I'm also a genealogist, so what I suggest is that you will turn to other people that are researching their family roots. And I see Professor Yitzhak Kerem wants to also relate to this. But that's one way to look for information, is to look for people that have done the family research in the areas of your interest.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to ask a question or address any of our speakers here? Rachel.
So first of all, thank you so much for rising up the item of Bitola-Monastir. I believe that as much people will be aware of their own history or the existence of the Sephardic Jews, it will be much more powerful, our telling the story of this special community, which I really think that the legacy of this community is very unique. Of the Sephardic communities of the Balkan is very unique, is very integrative, and as I say always, I believe that this should be the real legacy of the State of Israel, but this is another item that we might talk some other time. So thank you so much, and I would like to invite everybody to participate in the March of the Living. Rivki can send everybody the details, and if somebody needs some help or information, then we are here. And really, I think it is very, very meaningful that we continue and be present there, even though there are no Jews anymore, but tell them we are here and we are continuing to tell the story of this community. So thank you very much to everybody.
Thank you, Rachel. Anybody else from the public who wants to, from the audience, who wants to address or ask a question? No one? Okay, so.
And another thing I'd like to add to Gotze, because visiting the archive of Gotze is amazing, and Gotze is very serious about the story of the Jews of Bitola, and I think everyone should visit there. It is amazing, amazing.
Nina wrote here, hi Shelley, we met in Macedonia last summer. Well, great to see you. And
Yeah.
Am I muted?
Of course.
Am I okay to speak?
Yes, of course.
So this presentation was so wonderful. And I was privileged to be on the tour last summer. And Shelley and I met in person, of course, and Goshe also, because we were at the archives. And it was an experience of a lifetime. So if you have Sephardic heritage, or even if you don't have Sephardic heritage, there are many non-Jews, as we've heard, who participate and make our story live. I just can't tell you how meaningful this has been, and thank you all. I mean, so much speaks to me, some similar experiences, some I have no, personal relation to. But when you are there, we went to Thessaloniki and Macedonia, and it was like we were there with our ancestors. It was amazing, and I still am. And there are some people from our tour who are on also. So hi, Barbara and Sherry, and anyone else who was there. And Shelley, great to see you again. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you, everyone. So I'd like to just conclude. We opened with Racheli's words about her late grandfather. After that, we heard Ambassador Spend on the importance of remembering and passing on. Dr. Yoel Rappel, Rachel Chadayo, Dr. Rachel Shelley Levi-Drumer, Mr. Gotze, and Mr. Zoran in our minds. Dr. Racheli Kreisberg again about the SWIGGI initiative. If you'd like to participate, let us know. And very inspiring words by Rabbi Susan Talvi from St. Louis, Missouri. So thank you very much.
Rosenberg for moderating, for working with me on this program, for allocating all the speakers, for making sure that everything goes so smoothly. And this is not the first webinar that we're doing together. Rivki, you're doing a great job. Thanks
very much. I just want to PS. There is one person here who's hiding without the video. That's my Eti, Eti Shved, and I just want to highlight that Eti is from Saloniki also. So Eti, Laila Tov, Toda Shabbat.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.